That's why the 1950s, it was such a beautiful time. It was such a beautiful time where people go to many popcorn dates and movie theater dates and go to the park dates, and they dates on dates on dates. They would build these concepts on concepts on concepts of each other to finally have real, genuine sparks and connection. I'm not saying like boyfriend girlfriend, but I'm saying memories that are within and enlivened thinking. Have you ever been around a woman that when you have memories of her, yeah, it's always blurry and all that, depending on how much damage you've done to your instrument. Some people drink, some people drugs, some people whatever. Remember, the remembering process is the one of the most spiritual processes on earth. It's nothing of what you've been told. Everything you've been told is a lie. Remembering is the strongest tool of spirituality, which terrifies a lot of young people because they don't even remember what they had for breakfast. And a lot of these people kill themselves, actually. Something no one ever talks about is that it's not just the deep unconscious behaviors that I go over. It's you will kill yourself if your memory weakens, it dims, and it goes away. That's there. I don't think there's ever been a human on Earth that killed themselves within strong self memory, right? Or self remembering states, which is that state I would like to explain as you're showering, and before you go in the shower, you don't even turn it on, it's all quiet, and you start self remembering and going inward. It's kind of like a frozen feeling, but very active inwardly. Outwardly, you're just looking into the tiles of the wall, but inwardly, it's so active, so mystical, so powerful, and you can't put your finger on it, and you want it to last, and it fades quickly within seconds for many Zoomers. If you're medicated on drugs or any of that kind of stuff, you could go very long periods of time without self-remembering. And this is where all of your anxiety and fucked up neuroses start to, not where they're created, but where they're watered. And so memory is huge, like some people don't remember what happened in 2016 in their life. Some people don't remember what happened last year in their life. And I don't mean like, yeah, you can use a symbol like scrolling through your gallery, your photos, and then you see something that triggers a concepts to connect and build some kind of imagination with that. But yeah, when I say that I'm in LA and I'm here I'm still expressing the highest level of thinking, feeling, and willing. It's not like I'm just fucking hookers. Statistically, 99.9% of people listening to this call are severely, severely sexually challenged, meaning 0% magneticism, or waves of magneticism that come and go by seasons, maybe a spring break or whatever. And to me, I'm like, that's got to be the most pathetic shit I've ever heard in my life because I'm the gamer. Some of you guys are just sports athletes and all that kind of, you have your own little niche. And so some of you guys were never even gamers. So I even started at a worse position than you guys. And it always fascinated me how when we look at numbers, like let's look at Tate, like hundreds of millions of dollars with Andrew Tate, and the women at that party didn't impress me. And if he told me, yo, Zherka, it's because they were last minute, totally 100%, I will believe you. Anytime a human being says to me that's a last minute group of women we got, 100% that always happens. That happens 80% of the time. I get that. But Tate's mind is it's so been dissected by all of us. We know he's a calculating type. He doesn't sleep much. He sleeps 4 hours a night, which I was surprised when he leaked that because I'm like, oh, that's why he's so disconnected from spirit. Is that's all the repair, all the preparation happens in your sleep. So it makes so much sense why he's more cold and calculative in a way. Like inwardly, he hates God. You can feel that from him. And I'm not saying it to like shit on the guy. I'm saying most humans who are thinking types get inwardly dry. They just don't like the center, right? The rhythmic. That makes sense. You can see it, and it's not like a bad thing. It means he gets to stand on his own 2 feet and really get tormented before he goes back to God. It happens to every human, really. So it's not like that's not a moral judgment, right? In where he's at in his life, and you can even hear a human being when they hate God because they say things like, "Maybe God wanted me to lose that fight," which he's really saying. What is he saying there? Maybe God needed me to lose that fight against Chase Demore. And so you look at someone like Tate. He's a calculative thinking type, very extremely intelligent when we compare him to Logan Paul. Like extremely intelligent. Like Andrew Tate's intelligence compared to the people he's around, the influencers, is so fucking impressive. And I'm not a fan, right? But just the thinking, right? It's so fucking it kind of damages his fighting skills. He's not like you want to fight Darren Till, and that's more willing type. That's you don't want to fuck with that. That means all of his thinking went into the into the willing, the action, the metabolic limb system. So that's a dangerous person for a thinking type, right? Because the body has to move. You can't think. You get punched in the face, and so it explains why Tate's getting beaten by someone like Chase Demore. Is like he's a fucking. Outside Tate is on the lower threshold of a societal genius, like someone who can game society, right? He can get money out of it, extract it, and all he has to do is trade his morality for the money, which most humans do anyway. They run their casino and gambling and all that stuff. And for me, it's been years. I still haven't done it. That does that money tempt me? It's never tempted me because I'm not inwardly dry. I've never been, not even as a child, right? And if you don't believe me, go look into. Bro, I can draw you a picture. I can sketch like a motherfucker. I'm extremely active inwardly, right? Very different from this kind of thinking type. A lot of people say I'm a thinking type because I trained my instrument, and it's like no. The thinking type means you're getting straight A's in high school, right? Which I could actually believe if Tate got straight A's in high school. I could see that being his thing. I don't know if he's ever talked about that. But yeah, he's a thinking calculative type who's always planning 1,000 years ahead. That means he plans the women he's going to be around 1,000 years ahead, and he doesn't mind paying. For all of that, to have that roster of women in your home, no one checking you for it, you got to remember that there is something extremely blackpilling about having $100 million status, network, women, everything, but the women are ugly. And I'll say it, bro. To me, a 38-year-old Olga from Ukraine, that's not a good look, man. That is not. And a lot of people are like, well, Zherka, all your bitches are 18. No, they're not. Most of my women have always been 25 years old. I think 25 is the best looking human. When you look at when humans look their best, I think it's 25. It's just that fucking ugly personality of a 25-year-old is so fucking cringe. The overinflated ego and all that. It's like they can't even be kids anymore. They can't even enter a state of play. They're dry to be around. You have around some 25-year-olds and it's like they're looking death in the face and they're turned into stone. They're frozen. They're very fucked up kind of women. And you meet a 20-year-old girl, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, whatever. Those women, they still got the spark in the eyes, the sparkle, and they can bring some sort of instinctual feminine energy, which really makes the annoying part of her nature not that annoying. It's not that bad. But when it's masculine and annoying at the same time, I swear to God, I can be that guy who jacks off to. And you know what? I think I'm just going to quit on women, go to jack off to these AI women on Twitter. I think I'm going to switch. I'm going to switch lanes. The only thing that has ever shriveled me up is that, bro, the most beautiful one in the chat, man, the most beautiful women you'll ever meet in your life are extremely masculine. No one has ever said that on a YouTube channel. No one has ever said that out loud because we don't dare face the truth. But you're going to notice in your life the most gorgeous creatures you encounter that are into you. they don't fit your personality standard, and that means you don't fuck them, right? I'm actually super impressed with men who fuck a beautiful, but their personality is masculine type of woman. I'm fascinated by men who get that. Usually, it's the more quiet type of men. Um, but yeah, I'm telling you that this whole fascination with this, because our strongest spiritual power is our sexuality. That in future evolution, it's going to be insanity what we're going to be able to do with it. When it's not all bundled downstairs and switching chambers and all fucked up. But to me, the most fascinating part of the human dynamic is that Tate made $100 million. 8 billion people on Earth are trying to fuck these women. Everyone on Earth is trying to go connect back into the love stores, and they're all failing miserably. How do you think that makes me feel? And now you guys see why I never respect influencers or guys with money or you guys listening to me. To me, respect goes to the creatures that get to mate whenever they want. Not that they take advantage of that, but that it's on the table, that they've worked that hard, that they're actually magnetic most of the time. And now, what happens when that kind of man is not around women? Does the magneticism go away? No. He gets stored into a book. It is a bestseller. It turns into content. It transmutes. It doesn't go away. And women are that marker. To me, I've always stressed this. I remember working at nightclubs just staring at the guy pulling women, and I'm like, okay, this guy pulls a lot of women, but he doesn't have that it factor. He's relying on network. This guy's relying on money. This guy's relying on looks. There is no it factor in any of them. There's no perfect balance of a trinity. The husband trinity of status, network, looks. Just enough looks, just enough status, just not one maxed out and awkward here and there, and none of that shit. We're talking about like that complete sexual project that women are trying to mate with. And all of that comes from spiritual authority. That, hey, will you take care of her if you're stranded on an island with her? So women immediately sense that Sneeko will not take care of them on an island if they were stuck on an island. Sneeko would do what most men do. He would probably try and fuck her, right? He wouldn't even think of cracking a coconut, right? When women are alone with you in an elevator, you will notice if you have moral authority or not. Moral authority does not mean Ned Flanders Christians. They don't. No woman likes them. Right? They're not rewarded at all. They are not King Solomon at all. Right? They are not rewarded at all. Moral authority is she's in an elevator with you and she leans closer. Women never do that. They don't do that with. I'm sure Tate gets it more than Sneeko, but I doubt even Tate, especially with all the stuff they said about his name. And right, moral authority means this is the highest level Chad with 0% rape energy. That if he grabbed me and started joking about rape, it would turn me on. That's how convinced I am that this guy is moral to his core. Now that is dating dynamics of the soul that no human ever talks about, because it will make you jump off a fucking golden gate, my nigga. Do you know how many of you make women flinch when you joke? Do you know how many of you, if you were to ever push your nose in her nose, she would be afraid of you? Meaning she's seeing you inwardly, and you're ugly, spiritually underdeveloped inwardly. You know, this is stuff that you should think about when you're in the dating world, because it's seriously going to put you upright. It's seriously going to make you look at Walmart people and say, holy shit, it's not about clout, money, or anything. Looks, it's not about none of that. First and foremost is inwardly you are a faggot to her. Never forget that. You listening to this are at percentage of faggot we've never seen because we've entered modernity. Welcome to hell, world of modernity, right? You're not getting instinctually married in like the 1950s. And let me tell you this, none of you even deserve women to be around you until you can walk in spirit. I'm telling you, when you sin, stay conscious. You're going to sin, that's normal. When you sin, stay conscious. So you have spiritual authority even when you're fucking slipping. So you have something catching you at the fucking party. Well, Zherka, I have random spiritual. How many of you have random spiritual thoughts, deep thoughts, but only when you're at a party for some reason? You know, this is like a huge meme on the internet too, and no one understands what's happening. If your deepest spiritual thoughts are in the middle of a party, like, I shouldn't be here, my dude, you are not even 1% developed. Do you know how liberated you will be when you go to a party with bad bitches and actually enjoy them while your thinking, feeling, and willing are perfectly aligned so you cannot feel like an ugly fucking faggot? The world becomes an adventure again. Or you can sin at home. Keep doing what you're doing. And what's stopping you from sinning at home? You do that every day. You see, the difference from sitting home and sitting out in the world is you're going to bump energy shields with other humans, other women. And that friction is going to transform both of you, meaning you will be developing your spiritual authority on earth. But if you sin at home instead of sinning out there, if you do it your way and not my way, do you want to be stranded on an island with a chatter or with Zherka? Women answer the same way you do. You know that? So you guys got to remember one thing, man. You can play your life however you want. The only video game where your moral authority is truly tested is it within relationships with other humans. I want you guys to meet thousands of people in your lifetime, not 5. I want you guys to do that more for, I'm not talking about just dad lore or whatever, more for what happens to you inwardly. I want you to go through 2026 convinced that everything you've been doing is wrong. And it's not Zherka that has the answer for you. It's everything you've been doing cannot be repeated again. It should never be repeated again. It's 2026. Many years have passed and your will is still asleep. It will never feel like life until it becomes a Pokemon adventure. How many women have I captured? How many women have I put my Rayquaza inside of? How many adventures have I had to protect those women? And I did. How many times have I not let a hoe get hit by a car and all this fucking can't go home? And how many times have I sacrificed my own money because I know she is created, this hooker, this whore is created just like me, and she's fallen just like me, and we're both very far from spirit. She's gonna get home safe, and I'm never gonna see her again. And she goes her whole life trying to find me to suck my dick, and other girls pick up on the fact. They don't read group chats, they sense the moral authority that Sneeko doesn't have. So they chase Zherka. Or they sense one-sided spirituality, like Andrew Tate. He has more moral authority, but he's extremely, greedy. So it balances him out in a negative way. This is stuff that no dating coach on YouTube or whatever these fucking faggots talk about. This is stuff that none of them are allowed to jump into because they don't have the vocabulary, they don't have the concepts, they don't even get it. And this stuff is so much more important. Like, for example, I've told you guys many secrets and they've helped you immensely in your lives, especially the stuff I used to give away for free, like a dummy. I gotta make a living too, right? But the stuff that will always come back to you when you're at a party is what I said today. Not the little tips and all that other stuff. It's this, that there is a moral silhouette you have to fulfill before magneticism starts becoming extremely organic. So if you've ever wondered how Sneako's really good with women, and I do think he's like on par with pickup guys. Because I've been around with him and I've just seen him problem solve at a rapid pace. And if you give Sneako's like a dog, if you tell him what to do, it's game over. I remember telling Sneako, "Hey man, the girls are on the elevator right now. I want to lower their anxiety past zero. I want to go, for once, I want to go, let's go minus 200 degrees." And Sneak will be like, whoa, that's like Xanax flow. Why do you want them that calm? That's insanity. Like, I thought, you usually have a different approach. And I wouldn't tell him why. And I'm like, can you promise me that? Okay, sure. And he would do it for me. And he was literally the best pickup artist I've ever seen because he was given instructions like a dog, right? Some people love militant instructions. I love it too, especially from you guys. Sometimes you guys say, do that, do that. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I like that kind of interaction, the no bullshit, no cookie cutter, let's just fucking go. And then later I remember I didn't have the heart to tell Sneeko, like, the reason I wanted him 200 below Celsius with the bitches is because he scares them, not me. Obviously, I didn't, like, what, only a dick would just bring that up and say that to someone, right? That would just be weird. That would just, I don't think it would even improve his game because when people feel insulted, their their soul hardens immediately. That's like a lot of people don't realize all that arguing you do with another human being hardens them against you. It doesn't have the effect you think it has. It's doing the opposite for you, right? It's kind of like you put a soul in prison. You haven't you've hardened them even more now. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not against prisons and stuff. I'm just saying that the long term effect is just look at the studies of the Swedish prisons. Have you seen those kind of? Yeah, just look at their how therapeutic those are compared to the very cruel systems that we have. Um, and obviously, I come from a background of like getting in trouble with the law a lot, so I've always had a soft spot for prisoners because in my head I could just as easily be locked up like those guys. So it's also an internal thing for me. But yeah, when I say make every conversation spiritual, especially the dating dynamics, man. You shouldn't be thinking what the definition of a soul. Oh, I don't know. No, none of you can even answer that. It's a tripart: thinking, feeling, and willing. Just start there and start understanding. Wait a minute. There are guys that don't know what they're doing, but their moral character allows them to go further in life. And it builds up over time and it's not seen. A lot of them have shitty personalities, so you would never think they're moral. But deep down inwardly, when they're alone, they're shitting on you. So if you've ever wondered why someone's a lot more lucky than you, and some of these guys are cokeheads, some of these guys are crazy people, some of these guys are pieces of shit, some of these, but they have built up moral energy that is going to give them what you see as luck. And it'll appear in a very unfair way to you because you'll be like, how's that cokehead so lucky? And it's like, no, no, you're missing a lot of life energy spent inwardly. That this guy is much better of a person than you. And some of these guys look like they're getting away with murder. That's how lucky their incarnation looks. So I just always want to remind you guys that, when you watch Tate, you might think, hey, I'll start an OnlyFans business and just be a moral. Look what happened to his jawline. Like, there's a moral defect to his shape. If you want that, if you want to like turn into like this kind of um, pimp archetype, that's the best way to describe him. If you want to transform into a pimp archetype, which is super relatable to me, right? But that pimp archetype thing, it looks like it comes with a bunch of women and stuff like that, but there's a really hollow feeling when you're around inwardly dry hookers all day. Extremely, like, you should see when I was ever around the strippers and stuff, they would boil in spirituality. They would love it. They would come alive. It's almost like we're falling in love together. Whereas Tate is a thinking type. There's no rhythmic system. There's no rhythmic approach there. It's just fuck them mechanically or whatever. And so he's inwardly gonna ruin his whole life because when you don't get caressed by a woman, when you don't have physical touch with a woman, you just have fucking and all this caveman stuff. It's awesome, sure, for 5 seconds. But when you're trying to build your empire and do everything, you take on your karmas, you're trying to get places in the world, you're going to say, I am never rejuvenated because I'm around whores all day. Now, if you're into high level mysticism, those whores could, and I'm saying whores like they call themselves whores, right? If you're into this stuff, yes, those whores can enliven around you. Let's say you're really spiritually advanced. Yes, you can be lighting them up, at least when you're around them. When you're away from them, they go back down. It makes total. I'm not making a total judgment there. I'm just saying 100%. If you see the difference from a Zherka around women and Andrew Tate around women, you'll see a thinking versus a rhythmic feeling bond. Tate is very logical, it's actually hilarious, right? It's very, Tate reminds you of old emperors that are instinct based, which is remember, anything that's old is like falling away from spirit, it's peeling off because we're in the new age. And the new age demands the feeling there that the heart center has to be open. And you'll have a mastery of this when she's a hoe. She goes out with her friends and you don't care because your heart is open to the universe. And this is stuff I really, for years, avoid talking to people about because when you enter into any esoteric Christian energy coming from a podcast, the first instinct humans have is to grab knives and kill the guy who's opened his heart in the podcast, so other people connect to it. It's the first instinct humans have to murdering someone is when they feel that light. So this is stuff that thousands of years you have to shh, walk in silence, or kill your fame until you're at very little viewers, and don't post on YouTube. Post it on a Twitter space with just your core audience, just enough people. You don't do it in front of 10 million people because you're reminding them how much work they have to do. within thinking, feeling, and willing, right? The head, heart, and the hands, or Catholic deeds. When you remind humans how much polishing they have to do, that, like, for example, 1 to 100%, how bad do you feel when your girl goes out with her girlfriends to the nightclub? And she's not your girl, you just started seeing her. Let's say that. That's more fair for you guys. If you are at 30% stressed that she's going to get fucked by some BBC, I'd say you're lying. I'd say you guys are all liars. 60%, 99.9% would be your stress levels when your girl goes out. That's how far away you are from your spiritual core. The closer you get to your moral authority, the less you will care that she went out. And here's something that you shouldn't be focusing on. Don't obsess with what I'm going to say next. The closer you get to the 1% of caring about what she does at night, the faster she will never go out with her friends again. But if I tell you that part, you will obsess over it so hard that you will never reach your goal. That's why I'm not supposed to tell you that other part. Do you understand that all you guys are going to be fixated on not giving a fuck, and she's just going to cheat on you, and you're a cuck now? Right? You've broken loyalty in the soul. That's a cuck. You're not allowed to do that to yourself. You don't want to do that to yourself. Now, Zherka, why do you randomly tell us all of this information that is 1,000 times more interesting than dating advice that you find on YouTube? I do it because I genuinely love you people. When I say my heart is open, it's not just for the hoes. It's not just for the people around me. It's not just for my coworkers. It's not just for family and friends. To the universe. That if I get hit by a bus, that if, the dark spirits that always follow men like me try and fucking cut my voice, if something ever happened to me, I would want you guys, before you go into the dating world where most of your lessons are going to come from, I would want you guys to say, Anthony Joshua has the strongest level of morality in the arena. That's why women are attracted to him. That's why he looks like that. That's why his incarnation's going that way. I need you guys to see with your eyes, because it's the first time in your life you will never be racist again. You won't look at the color, you look at the spiritual core, the middle of the man. And when you start seeing it hollow in most people, you will really, really freak the fuck out that, hey, this is a fallen world. Now, can my personality get angry running around with these hoes? 100,000%. But it's not that deep. It's not harmful. It's not damaging me. It's not, I don't generate negative thought forms from it. I don't spend more than 5-10 minutes yelling, right? I'm talking about my old self a couple of years ago, that's 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right? Whereas now it's more like, no other human really exists besides my path. That's humanity to me, right? Humanity is my path. Because everyone will benefit from that. So long as I do everything my way, it's always going to be your way. With the Christ, you will bring yourself towards freedom. That means your way. A lot of people confuse that and think it's just Christ's way, but you got to ask yourself why every profile picture has a different face. It's very different from what you've been told. Every human has a different talent, a different face, a different capacity because it's your path alone. The deeper you go into your path, the more women will test you. And some of you guys have got to stop having sex with the idea that you're doing something evil and wrong. All of these psychological neuroses and problems you guys have, you gotta really stop that. Because one, it's not like you're gonna stop having sex, right? When you have a girlfriend, whatever. So you're doing it anyway. And two is because the esoteric teaching is it's not evil. The compulsion makes you evil. And yeah, if you have a lot of sex with unconscious people, the compulsion grows, right? It's not a tantric thing anymore. It's not a beautiful thing. Okay? What is the goal of sex? The goal of sex is for marriage, inward marriage that doesn't involve papers. That should be your final goal in this relationship world. And I bring this all to the light right now because I take turns from going extremely inward and extremely outward. And when I'm outward, I have a lot of beautiful women lined up in my incarnation that they have the line going down their tanned backs with no tattoos on their skin. Maybe just one. Maybe just one to shoot not on. And these women are so beautiful doing whatever I say. And I'm King Solomon in this bitch. And I'm telling you right now, if I'm not generating thinking, feeling, willing in a perfect way with these women, I am subject to their unconscious evils and drives. And I can get dominated by that, like Heel Mike. It's a slippery slope. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a fucking beautiful day outside today, and nobody here can see it.
Yo, what's good, Zherka?
What's up?
Hey, I know you talk about sex a lot. You know how it's beautiful. Do you believe in soul ties or no?
I don't believe in anything. I hope everyone knows that I don't believe in anything I talk about. I don't think belief is something that you have to obsess over. It's knowing. I know. And yeah, I do know that there are soul ties. And when just break down soul into thinking and immediately understand that you're tied to some of these people. And I think it goes without saying. Now, has that new age, what do they call it? The new age whore community? You know, those women who are like half naked with vines all over their tits talking about like, I just feel like crystal balls and shit. I love that community because I've always been around not that community per se, but the hottest women from that community. I just remember working at nightclubs and going, that's the spiritual girl. It's like, it's not that I see high levels of spiritual maturity in them, it's the effort. There's something so attractive about a woman putting effort into spirituality because you don't see women put effort into Christianity. I mean, they LARP. I don't think anyone here can name a Christian. I think the highest level Christian from the women's side right now is Sam Frank, like an OnlyFans girl. And
Yeah.
not trying to shit on her, but I'm just saying that that's what a Christian girl is nowadays. So to me, the ones that put in much more effort into spirituality were always those new age girls, because they they would have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday all to themselves. And to me, I know they're doing everything wrong. I know they're fucking retarded. But the idea that they're Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday all alone, deep in their own thoughts, that idea to me was so attractive. because I was around women who Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were in the nightclub getting fucked up. So to me, it's like, whoa, these women are partying 7 days a week. Which ones are the more inward souls where you can have a more inward conversation with them? And it's not a conversation for anything other than the fact to understand the female psyche. Because a stupid bitch isn't really gonna, it's not really gonna leak female nature too much. But the one that can get just enough words out, you can absorb something to where you go, oh, that's what women are missing right now, and you can gain more information for your side. You can see how society is changing in real time. And so, yeah, I just always remember these fucking psychedelic batshit bitches. They're not batshit like angry types, but batshit like they're I would call them luciferic types. Like any new age woman is highly dreamy, luciferic, fallen light, thinks it's real light, but always gets deceived, always thinks she has an answer, but she's kind of like in her own fucking thing. I always found those women to be more morally upright than the Christian girls. Like I've had some Christian women that, wow, did they blow me away with how evil they were. It was almost like, have you ever seen Ted Bundy tell? I think it's like one of those killers who wear the cross and they're a good little Christian, but they like murder murder people in the middle of the night. That's what Christian women remind me of. Um, Unless there are some like unattractive ones that do not get as much attention. Uh, so to me, I'm a visual creature, and I think a lot of men are too. By the way, I think it's like, come on, let's not shit on that. So I was never into those kind of women. But yeah, I've had a lot of experience with these kind of new agey Luciferic types. I'm not saying like devil worshippers. I'm just saying they're like lost in space. Um, and to me, that they're the most dangerous types of spiritual people on Earth because they mix up real spiritual insight with fake. Now, a lot of people think when you get real spiritual insight that it's impossible to fake, or it's impossible to confuse. And it's like, no, dude, some of the most deepest insight you gain on your path will look 50% mirrored, literally mirrored to illusions. So there are so many humans who mix up the illusions with the truth. And that, in the esoteric community, is where everyone enters the abyss. They literally gone forever. If you mix up genuine intuitive energy, spiritual energy, with batshit schizophrenic retard, I saw a triangle on a fucking Masonic square and compass. If you're like one of those schizophrenic kind of, I always call them Alex Jones types. You can see Alex Jones's face. He holds on a lot of lies. Your face can really build up with a bunch of pressure and fat, um, from holding in lies, and that doesn't mean, yeah, you could say Alex Jones is lying to the world. A yapper type, but some people don't even talk as much as Alex. Some people don't talk at all, and their faces are still exploding because they're lying to themselves. They're around people they shouldn't be, but they're like lying to themselves constantly, and the pressure is actually shown in the face. I'm not talking about aging. I'm talking about the pressure that you see humans go through, and then they look normal later when they're not under that kind of stress because they lie to themselves. It's kind of like when you make your first $1 million, you lie to yourself that this has to happen. And if you lie enough, it does happen, but it comes with serious, serious stress. And so, yeah, when you look at a bunch of these women, they fluctuate massively. Like, look at all the women in your life, they fluctuate massively in stress, in cortisol, in body fat, and all that. And there's a reason for that, right? It's just like the girls with the women with the stomach aches. Not all, but most. It comes from lying. Like, look into Paracelsus' work, and you'll realize that there is nothing free about you doing harm in the world. It'll always come back to you.
Zherka, how would you recommend defeating the subconscious lie that most people feed?
That most people what?
Most people feed the subconscious lie rather than terminating it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who talk about like the instinctual subconscious is something wrong. And then there's another group that says it's something that has to happen. It's actually correct. Like for example, if a man needs to cheat on his wife, but he doesn't do it and he gets sick because he doesn't do it. He's obsessed with cheating now. A lot of the Jungians would say just let him cheat so that unconscious can unravel. That's the healthy psychic function, or else he'll become a repressed homosexual like a lot of Republicans. And other people would say, dude, that's an evil. But it's actually just misdirected energy. That instinct of cheating has to be transmuted into something higher. If he finds out what that higher thing is, he's free and he doesn't lose the energy. He gets to use all of that energy, right? And that's what a lot of people don't realize, that the lowest part of your instincts to fuck a whore, you want to fuck a bitch, actually gets transmuted to a higher place as you're learning these lessons being around these women. You will actually see moral decay if you're failing your missions. You'll actually see it in the mirror, or sometimes even before the mirror, you just know something's off. And by the way, it's not normal to feel like something's off every day of your life. If you feel like something's off every day of your life, you're in deep, deep searching for a mystical path, meaning every day has to be religious to you, meaning every day has to involve a deep meditative session, a deep contemplative session on scripture, right? I feel like I don't talk about how I've never in my life, in my schedule, after, let's say I go to bed at 12, 10 p.m. to 12, those 2 hours, for as long as I can remember, have always been Bible study. And I don't call it Bible study, I call it music time. I just play the Bible like an audiobook, and it's just music in the background for my last 2 hours. And I've always gone to bed like that before my prayer. And I thought this is human. I thought this is what every Christian does. But when I found out, I think it was Arthur Kwan Lee, he said, the Bible's not something you're supposed to understand. You just read it until you can't read anymore, and that's it. You've done your work for today. And I was just like, whoa, what the fuck? And I, looked into studies and stuff and saw how many, what's it, 90% of Christians never have scripture playing before they go to bed. I did this when I wasn't even a Christian. I did this just out of interest for years. I thought, what, imagine programming yourself before bed without scripture. Like you're downloading, you, what, you're going to sleep with Instagram and Twitter and stuff that give you a heart condition. Your heart should be like stone. You should be masculine. If you want women to follow you around like dogs, like they're obsessed with you like little puppy dogs, then you can't have Sneeko's jumpy heart. Sneeko's jumpy heart, or what we call in my community faggotry, comes from, for example, have you ever held a knife and felt like unsafe, that you could stab yourself or someone? You have weird flash thoughts, or just walk by a balcony and you have an impulse to jump. This is weak levels of spirituality where your inner man is so weak that demons can enter it and actually make you do something you don't want to do, right? Not saying that it'll always happen like that, but if you're deeply unconscious, that's your biggest fear. And then there's other human beings that grab a knife and their heart is stone. They feel nothing. These people are inwardly calm. And 90% of that will be cured through meditation, right? I'm not talking about some Eastern practice. I'm talking about for Christians. That is, your duty is to have a calm. Once your soul is calm, your thinking, feeling, and willing literally start flowing like a river, right? And remember, As a Christian, you should want 10% mastery over your body. If you can aim for 10% mastery of yourself in one incarnation, you will move mountains. When you see 10% mastery, you're seeing the highest, most successful types of souls, inwardly rich, outwardly awesome, everything's going great, and then they always have larger challenges that eventually break them down. They take on more on their plate. But this idea that you can be a Christian and not have Bible study every night of your life. There was the ex stripper on a Fresh Fish show that said, I walked by Zherka's room in his penthouse from the Heel Mike's little party. I open his door and he's reading the Bible. And I sit to him and he read the Bible to me. Like he didn't stop. Like I wouldn't interrupt her just because she's some half naked, fucking sexy, fucking stripper in my room. If I ever want to fucking fall away, I'll do it on my active time, on my times where I can mess up. I can never do it 2 hours before bed. Are you fucking retarded? That's almost like ritual to me. Although I want to say it's music time. It is not the prayer session. It's just music. And I thought that most humans live like this. I thought this is soothing to humans. But it turns out most Christians pick up their Bible 8 times a year. I think it was 8, right? Yeah, what the fuck? And I'm not saying pick it up. I've never recommended a human being pick up scripture if they're forcing it. I don't even recommend you even help someone if you're forcing it. But if you're doing it inwardly because you want to help someone, then do it. Because that's the only way you're going to have enough mental snapshots of yourself to transform yourself further and further. You're not going to do it by dragging feet like a faggot. There's some people are obsessed with pointing to saints, thinking saints are dragging feet. No, those are the most transformed humans on earth. Like when we look at how to live on earth, saints are at the highest level. And the only thing higher than a saint would be the saints we don't know about. There's many of them, right? And yeah, it's interesting how 2026 human beings will watch Christian channels all day, but never actually bathe in scripture. You know how fun it is to bathe in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John before bed? You know how fun that is? You know how not fun it is to look at Shaniqua's fighting on Twitter before bed? That shit sucks, dude. Like, I don't care if you're 20 years old. I don't care if you will scroll through Shaniqua's daytime anyway. It's not like you're missing those, titty out fights. I guarantee you're not going to miss any of those fights. But the last 2 hours before bed are extremely important. Not only do you decelerate, you have to turn into stone within perfect stillness in your prayer. And a lot of people are like, Zherka, the lifestyle you live is it's like a sports game. You got to do the meditation 30 minutes. And then when you get good, you got to do it for an hour. What the fuck? And it's like, no, it turns into an hour naturally. You don't even notice it. Okay. Uh, 30 minutes. Then you get your daytime to, you go into the events of the world and you're around the strippers and you're whatever the fuck's happening, whatever you're choosing to take on. And then before bed prayer, you can only walk up. If you met me in 2016 or 2017, you would say that guy has horns on his head. If you met me today, you'd be like, holy shit, this guy's gone very far, and it's still a nigga around strippers. Have you noticed that? But these strippers move on with their incarnations after I talk to them. How many strippers have I not had sex with? I think most of them I never had sex with, right? So this is good. We're going now. 2016 is a different story, right? More instinctual, more youthful. So yeah, all right. We got any more questions?
Yeah, Zerka, do you make sure to practice conscious or like conscious winding down before sleep because that's where you enter the subconscious?
Yeah, I don't use these terms. I use the spirit world terms for when you're going to bed, and I do think, you have 2 hours before bed that the lights have to slowly turn off, right? You have to enter a space where you're as light as a feather when you touch the bed. A lot of you guys sleep tense and heavy. Uh, if you if you want to suffer to a point where God doesn't even exist anymore, keep sleeping like that. I'm telling you, the most humans, there's studies that show how many humans sleep tense, right? And all that tension builds from you saying something you weren't supposed to say, that you regret at work, with your girl, with your whatever. All that builds up and it doesn't release. It gets all that energy gets held in you. And it's kind of like, have you ever looked at Myron and seen how much tension Myron is holding? Because he's always in wars. He's always in Twitter beefs. Have you ever seen how Myron is cracking under that pressure? Have you ever noticed that? That he's under immense tension. And Myron's convinced if he has a strong workout, that he'll have good sleep. But that's only one half, that's the physical part of the equation. There's also the soul component, thinking, feeling, willing, right? It's not just the willing, it's the thinking, feeling too. And so people like this, like Myron, they come into consciousness later where sleep starts to get a lot sweeter. A lot, it's more, it'll rejuvenate you more. You start to see butterflies in the world again. Myron will come into this consciousness, but man, is he stubborn. Whereas, and this is what I mean by inwardly dry people is like if you have 0% spirituality in your core, you never talk about it, you never think about it, then you're more Myron. It's like you take out spirituality and all of my practices from Zherka, let's say, and Zherka literally turns into Myron. Right, I would literally turn into we would be the same person. We love Vegeta. We have the same interests. Everything's the same with me and Myron. The only difference is that Zerko's biggest fear is becoming inwardly dry, and Myron's greatest lifestyle is being inwardly dry. Like Andrew Tate, like people who are inwardly dry, they're usually police officers, thinking types, shit like that, right? And you know what's funny is, even though Myron's inwardly dry, I'd still say Myron's more moral than anyone else on Twitter. I'm not saying that because he's my friend. I'm saying that because he's a cop. Do you know what I mean? Cops are at higher levels of morality than the average person because their nature is not to lie, cheat, and steal. Their nature is to find it out in society. So they've been wronged when they were a kid. Someone stole their candy or something, right? Yeah, anymore. Because
Yeah, last one. How do you balance the external without going internally dry, and how do you like have external power when you have the internal wisdom?
what?
Yeah, like I noticed that whenever I feel the most internally wise, I lack external depth, but then whenever I have the most external control, I lack internal wisdom.
Man, maybe you mean what you're trying to say is how do you remain internally wise in the real world that is eternally strippers?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's simple. It's so simple. To you, they're strippers, but to spiritual eyes, those are souls in progression. They are evolving in a different way that's coming with more pain. And obviously, you teach a young man this, and they can really have their money stolen by some of these nasty hookers, right? Some demonically charged bitches. But to a more advanced person, these are just God's children, just like everyone in this call. That comes from experience. Like I've never missed an opportunity to hang out with hoes. Never in my life. Right? And I'm ignoring them most of the time. I'm doing my own thing, but I don't miss these opportunities because guess what? They are at the same level of sin as my bros. That's the truth. If you really want to look at it, hoes that are sinning all the time are just choosing external sins. You look at a lot of men on this call, their sins are in the shadows. So the sooner you get into your head about, hey man, this person's good, this person's bad, the faster you morally decay like a motherfucker. You can't even make jokes and make people laugh anymore. I'm telling you right now, like, do not see the world as this person's better, this person's evil, Trump is good, Hillary this, blah blah. Do not black and white that. Any human you see, Jeffrey Epstein, doesn't matter who, always say they're in the middle. They're in the middle. They're in the middle. They're good and evil. They're in the middle. As soon as you start seeing like this, you are going to go much easier on yourself. You're not going to be that hard on yourself because you're going to be like, I am a piece of shit like Jeffrey Epstein. I am a piece of shit like this person. I am a piece of shit like Oprah. But you know what? I don't want to make a hate comment on Oprah and call her a piece of shit. Yeah, she's like me. And then you stop doing the hate comment. Now you start spiritually evolving. But as soon as you're like filled with thinking, feeling, or willing of hate, you will that thought, that comment, all those little comments add up throughout the day. That's why I loved these Lux Maxers talking about cortisol spiking. I love that because in the esoteric tradition, this is perfect. This is we want you in the middle, right? Don't spike your cortisol. Don't make that comment. Don't don't do it. And let weigh it if it's important to you. But you know, it's kind of like when Logan Paul said to Steve, what? Not Steve Wilkos. Who's the gambling guy? Steve will do it. When Logan Paul said, I feel the vibrations are evil around Steve, like I feel like something's wrong. As much as the comment section is making fun of Logan Paul for feeling the negative vibes of Steve will do it, here's the truth. You can all call Logan gay for not letting Steve say that bad word. Yeah, that's totally fine. Freedom of speech is always number one. Freedom of thought is the most important thing in every soul. However, Steve was on drugs and alcohol when he was around Logan, which means he's going unconscious, letting the dead work through him more, right? The blood vessels are opening up. And, all humans do that when they're, deeply unconscious. But basically, Logan, who's someone at a much higher level of consciousness who doesn't drink, he feels inwardly sensitive around that kind of energy because Logan is so much higher in spiritual development than someone like Steve, who uh, I would say is not a bad guy, but he's going through what I call the garbage man incarnation, where he can't stop making tweets about how he's extremely depressed. He's extremely fatigued. He's extremely tired all the time. He's extremely coping. He hates his life. This is the most depressed he's ever been, but with the millions of dollars. So that, to me, that's called the garbage man incarnation, the worst place you can be in, because it never ends. Because how can it end? You're a millionaire. You're doing everything right. You don't have to listen to anyone. Why would a successful person ever listen to Zherka, right? But you could even say to Steve will do it, hey man, you're inwardly dry and there's a lot of pressure on your face. Like, you could say whatever, he'll just go into deeper layers of unconsciousness. He's in what we call the worst incarnation you can have, where Steve's whole the rest of his life is counterbalancing the success now. And that's why it's so fucking dangerous to not understand how the soul works, how the mind is, because if you don't have an idea of a balancing act in your head, you can have some really great shit happen to you. That ego inflation will spend the rest of its life tormenting you. But if you're from my community, something really good happens to you, you say, oh, stay in the middle, because it's a balancing act. Oh, this is where I go deeply unconscious with drugs, alcohol. It's not just a little seasonal thing. Now it's like, I think it's been 7 years of drugs and alcohol for Steve will do it. And, like, I'm all for people experimenting, right? I'm very liberal on that kind of stuff. Do whatever you got to do, man. I'm nothing of what people say I'm about. I'm I'm telling you what to. I'm not. There's not like no conservative channel telling you what the fuck to do. I'm for freedom, Max. However you have to get bit by the tiger, go get bit, bro. And come back to me, see if you're even alive. But yeah, it's like you don't know how great your life is until you look at. So you guys listening to me right now, you guys will one day realize, huh? Steve will do it, talking about depression all the time. I have never gone through what he's gone through, but I don't have his millions of dollars. Yeah, because those go hand in hand. You hear what I'm saying? So if you're a 23-year-old and you're like, I've never really been depressed, you're doing things very correct because you're going to have tragedies you're going to go through anyway. So you don't understand how much more rich you are than Steve will do it. And a lot of people don't realize that the ultimate torment is you can't escape yourself. You can't escape your body. And that's torture. It doesn't matter how many Ferraris are in the driveway. If inwardly you go extremely dry, some people are beast about it. Like I think Myron lives such a healthy, balanced lifestyle that he can go for maybe 5 more years like that before he gets balanced and starts talking about God. Bradley Martin is just on timing. I think on my podcast I said within a year, but it's like a year and 8 months, or I think it's been 2 years now, and he's reading the Bible every night. So, yeah, people need to become inwardly awake, and the need is the transformation part. That's why you don't rush people. You don't force people into the Bible because everyone has. If people unfold at the pace I want them to unfold, it's dangerous. If they unfold at the pace that Nick wants them to unfold, it's dangerous. If they unfold in the pace that Myron snapped his fingers, immediately transform, that's the most dangerous. The the pace cannot be given by another soul. The pace is yours. So when you see someone suffering for 7 years, that's the pace they're choosing. They're reviewing. They're going through the mini judgment every night in their sleep, and they're like Tate is afraid of sleep, afraid of spiritual world because he feels like he doesn't deserve it. So he spends 4 hours and tries to stay awake, always afraid that he's gonna die. He's made all this money and it's just gonna go. So Tate on the last stream he started talking about like I'm halfway done my life, and he's having that kind of death drive. And I think death drive is healthy if you want to, hey, I have to get going with my incarnation. But death drive is not healthy when, oh my God, I have this much time left to fuck hookers. I have this much time left to fuck hookers. I'm losing my hair over it. That's not normal, okay? That's because even if you are fucking the hookers, you ask anyone who does it, they will tell you, doesn't matter how many hoes, they always panicking. So that's like what, 23 hours of panicking with 1 hour of sex a day. That's a horrible, horrible life. Like your heart just racing that you're gonna lose all the whores and you're gonna die and all that shit. Like that's why the compulsive behavior you get from millions of whores around you is it's so torturous that if you could be in that body, like it looks so cool from the outside until you're alone, like when Andrew Tate's alone with his own thoughts, right? And that's when you see the boy and not the man. That's when things get bad, and that's also why Tate can never. If you notice, he can never actually be alone. He always has his brother and his group around him.
He
It,
hates stillness.
there's being alone is this different kind of courage, and it's funny because you can find that kind of courage in a lot of nerds. I remember meeting fucking Steve Jobs fans. Fans of Steve Jobs. They were meditators, just like Steve Jobs was a meditator. And I'm like, what the? Why are these nerds so powerful at being alone? Like, what the fuck is that about? You see that with a lot of gamers too. A lot of gamers are really good at being alone. Like, they're not forcing it. They're not tormenting themselves. They're just really healthy and alone. Just they're doing it, but then they're like terrified of the going outward in the world like Tate, and so they're off balance, so they always feel like something's off still, right? And when you're outward, out in the world, and inwardly you can be alone with yourself, dude. That balance is so the butter of existence, man. That is, and you'll notice it too. You come back from a party and you pick up scripture and it all makes sense. And then it's like both things happen, right? You were social with your friends and you got a deeper insight in scripture. By deeper insight, I mean not like I think the worst thing is YouTuber debates on Christianity. I'm talking about deeper insight where you'll see scripture sometimes will make you smile. And that smile, that inward smile, that the smile from your stomach, that is truth making itself known to you. And that's no pastor, no priest is going to help you with that. This is not like a Protestant message or anything, right? No,
You
I'm
want to get
telling
Gary up here? You just joined.
there's an external relationship you'll have to scripture with your church and an inward. And to me, I think the inward one is what's missing. I think a lot of people do go to church and they're outwardly spiritual, which does benefit you, right? It does help you. But then that inward process, that one is where people freak the fuck out. Like imagine if Gary, the numbers guy, imagine if Gary had to meditate on all the evil he's done. Do you think Gary would have a schizophrenic mental breakdown? Gary looks like a man who has horrible sleep every night of his life. Gary, how are you sleeping? I think any system that has a potential chance where you piss away and gamble away all your money, that's devilish. That's retarded. But
So people shouldn't invest in the stock market. People shouldn't invest in crypto. People shouldn't invest in anything. Correct, Zherka?
if they're doing it with their whole thinking, feeling, and willing, no, they shouldn't. If crypto
Mhm.
occupies if crypto occupies your whole soul, like it does for Steve Will Do It, you will have Steve Will Do It's outcome, where he's talking about fucking jumping off a fucking bridge with millions of dollars in his pocket. Do you want that
It-
outcome?
it-
Fuck no.
I mean, I think it's interesting that Steve will do it. Has all that money and he still fucking pimps his girl on OnlyFans.
Why
I
is
find
he
that
no no
interesting
Gary? Why is he so depressed? He says
because
he's
he's an alcoholic.
no.
He's a drug
It's
addict.
it's deeper
Bro, have
than
you been
that.
around this guy? Have you been around this guy? I've been around him. I've been around him on yachts. He's insane.
No, Gary. It's something deeper. What's pushing him? Because let me tell you the truth, Gary. You and I have been around some highly functioning lawyer types who do cocaine, and they don't seem to be depressed like Steve. What makes Steve different from a high functioning Wall Street psilocybin popping fucking one of those kind of what? There is something that happened to Steve in his youth. I think that's what it is. So yeah, I don't I think looks maxing is the missing piece to the red pill. I love the black pill, but I don't think maxing out looks means you're gonna take DJ Khaled's woman ever in history. Maybe for a night, but the nest is huge. Like the nest, like bro, if you have a good nest, like for example, you get the nicest penthouse in Miami. You market it correctly, you go on the streets, pick up women, and say, "This is what we're doing." Show them the clips, the parties. That is the highest level of magnet because it's in the middle of downtown. They feel more safe, etc. But if you're a good-looking guy in the shadows, hey, I want to take you home. Her anxiety spikes. That's just how it works. Dude? The nest is the environment has to lubricate the woman. Have you ever taken a girl back to your hotel and her anxiety spikes through the roof. And if you're smart, you'll sit down and say, "Hey, you're nervous because you think I'm going to rip your clothes off. Relax. You're not that amazing." She totally calms down because she realizes like that's rape energy she's thinking about, and it actually freaks out the man too. The man goes, "What the fuck is this bitch all uptight about?" Right? All of that doesn't go away. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. You get them to the hotel, even when they're wet, a lot of times a girl will call you a rapist if you fuck her and never talk to her again after that. There's so much shit that has to happen with game for you to just have that experience go normally. Very few sexual encounters go normal. A lot of them turn into like really fucked up problems for people.
Yeah.
Because they're
That's what
fucking
game's about.
whores.
No, Gary, I'll say this, Gary. I believe game is huge. I believe Gary's temperament, like I always say, the only difference from a 20-year-old Zherka and 31-year-old Zherka, the only difference is the reason I can take a younger Zherka's bitch from him is because I grab her by the arm aggressively and pull her close when I talk to her, and she laughs. She goes, "Oh, masculine energy, this feels fun." A 20-year-old does not have the balls to risk going into prison. He will never do that. And dude, I'm telling you, the only thing that makes a woman sexually attracted to a man in a nightclub is aggression. When they feel that he's going for it. 20-year-old men have you seen Clav? He doesn't have it because it comes with experience where you know when to pull him in close. You look at young guys, 18-year-old guys, they have this fear of God. Like they have this fear, if I touch her elbow, she's gonna be, bro, if you know you're good looking and she likes you, you can pull her by the fucking end of her elbow shirt. You can literally pull her like a dog close to you and talk to her. Nothing happens. Literally, they reward you for that behavior. If you ask any older guy, their biggest regret is always not going for it. They go, damn, 100 bitches in your past were waiting for you to be a little more aggressive so you can escalate in public, and you never did it, and they fucking despise you like you're a coward bitch. And men think, oh, I'm gonna go to jail if I do it. No, you can actually feel when it's appropriate, bro. I'm telling you, and depending on the girl, dude, there's some extroverted women who you can literally harm them with a fucking pen. I'm not saying don't do this, but I'm saying you can poke them with a sharp object. Don't do this. I'm saying there are women who are waiting for just 1% male energy. They never get it from young guys. Never get it from young guys, especially jacked young guys. For some reason, those guys are like really pussy. So, Stacy, you like orange juice with your vodka? Yeah, is that interesting? Is that? And then there's someone like JW that will literally go into her ear and say, "This place fucking sucks. Let's go to that other place." And she goes, "Oh shit." He's activating me to move out of this bar, go to that other bar with a total stranger. This guy got balls. And then JW's fucking your bitch, immediately fucking your bitch, nonstop all night because of that assertive energy, not because of all this other stuff we want to point at. And I'm telling you, man, it is so insane to me how only a 25-year-old guy understands what I'm saying. You ask anyone under 25, they go, dude, she texted me the other week and said you were pussy. You were too afraid to actually go for me. Like women they talk to you, talk about you in group chats that you're a pussy, that you're too afraid to go for it. That's, I'm telling you, bro, young men suck with women. They suck. Like I used to think it's a money thing. Oh, you're older, you have more money.
They can't tell though. That's the
They're a
thing.
Yeah,
bunch
they
It's
of
that
can't
like
tell.
homosexual. They're a
They're
bunch of
12.
homosexuals raised by a
No,
single
Gary,
mother.
I was at that age. I couldn't tell either. I swear, I had no idea what the bitch was thinking at that age. Right now, I can stare in a woman's eyes and I can know within the first 4 seconds if how creepy I can be. 80%, 90%, 100%. Wow, dude. Sometimes I've sensed I can be full on Ted Bundy creepy in front of the cops. The cops take steps forward to try and arrest me. Like, why the fuck are you grabbing her so aggressively? And then she starts melting and laughing, and the cops stop walking towards me in the middle of downtown. And I look at the cop like, my nigga, I don't even know this woman. I just know what the fuck she's thinking because I'm not a faggot. You adopt the spirit of Miami like Sneeko and really adopt it in an extroverted manner, right? Super healthy. I think he did a little too much. Um, I'm not talking about playing the song. I'm talking about like he's a little too hooked to the superficial life. Like I think Sneako's an interesting guy because he has religion and his superficial life, which is the middle. The middle is the best part because when you're in the middle, as you age up, as you get older, it's very easy to become a saint. You know, I'm not saying a saint like a real saint. I'm saying to become. If you want to morally upgrade yourself, all those Christians who say you cannot serve two masters, you can't go to the club and be a Christian. those people who build nasty shadows are gonna you're gonna see what happens to them in their when they start their 30s, right? But the guys who don't build shadows, where everyone's like, yo, they're serving two masters, they're Christians and they go to the nightclub, those guys are in the middle. They easily in their 30s and 40s fall into a really moral life, easily. And look at the studies on building a shadow. Look at Jungian studies. It'll scare you. It's almost like there's no other devil on earth than repression. It's like repression is like the hidden devil, and it makes you feel holy too. You know, when you repress your sexuality, like Sneak goes gay, he represses it or whatever. When you repress that shit, it builds. So I always say the hidden devil is the shadow. Like that is, and I'm not saying it's that the devil per se. I'm saying you be, you can only worship the devil when you are repressed. I'm telling you, if you understood how saints throughout history achieved sainthood, you would all call them satanic because you'd say their path was so dark before they became a saint. They were so evil. They were so lost. Paul was killing Christians before the vision in Damascus on the way. You would be so fucking hammered, shocked at how you're supposed to play your incarnation that the first thing you would notice is every single Christian channel that doesn't have that Jungian lens is actually indirectly snaking their audience. And if they're pure of heart, that they're rubbing off a good message. But here's the truth: you can have a good message and fuck your whole life up still. I'm telling you right now, having a hero makes you a faggot. Like the only reason the whole, you know how many things the internet has to attack Zherka on, and I'm still the badass. I'm still wanted. Everyone still says you're the best because my advice is good. You can trust my advice. You should not have heroes. If you're anonymous, yeah, that's fun. But I'm talking about when you guys are on your little YouTube channels and you guys say, this is my guy, it looks gay. It looks fucking weird. And it comes to things like this. Remember that the founding fathers, everything you've been told about them is a lie. They weren't Christians. They were active Christians, meaning an active Christian is someone who's so morally advanced, they stop talking about religion and start doing genuine works in the world that shape everything. Like genuine, you have freedom of thought. That's the most important part of the Constitution. Say whatever you want, period. What about the Bible? Nope. Just that. Freedom. Because it all comes, this is all from Scripture. This is all from Scripture. That all of Scripture is about you becoming a free being that goes to the Christ, not some kind of fucking slave. "Oh, I'm afraid of God, so I. That is the antithesis of what genuine Christianity is. That is the opposite. That's why when you meet a really good Christian with a suit and tie, your first instinct is there's something missing in this guy, right? And you always notice because you bring up Palestine, and that Christian usually says, those kids had to die. You see that God promised them that land. And you're like, whoa, but you're like the nicest guy I know. You're pure of heart. How the fuck is Zerka at a stronger level of conscience than you?